Well, Grand Rising, everybody. And today is October 17th, and we are airing live on Facebook, YouTube, and Podbean. Unfortunately, today we are not airing live on Blog Talk because it misfired. So, but that is okay. So, today we have three of my good friends on air, and we're going to talk about what women have to say about boundaries, respect, and integrity. And little do they know, I might have a plot twist. So let me bring on Ashley Monsalve-Kirk, Naomi Gasson from Georgia Roof Advisors, and Wanda Pearson, who just published her new book. First of all, congratulations.
Yay!
Thank you.
Well, let's get some energy going this morning, girlfriends.
Yes.
We had some fun. So if you guys, ladies, because we're talking about what women have to say, share about what you do and what your mission is, and then we will get on with the topic. How about that?
All right. Sounds good to me.
Okay. How about Naomi? Why don't you go first, honey?
Sure. So my name's Naomi, and I'm from Georgia Roof Advisors. I moved here in 2016, and I've owned a roofing business with my husband and I since then. We work on a repair first mentality. We come from England, where we are really big into sustainability. So for every roof that I can not replace and repair instead is actually keeping all those shingles out of the landfill. So that's my mission, is to repair every roof I can and sustain this world.
Thank you. And I love that about you. I love the fact that you're so eco-friendly, sustainable, putting the planet first, right? Planet over profits.
Yes.
So go ahead, Wanda.
Okay. My name is Wanda Pearson, and I'm excited to be on this show here. I actually been doing a lot of stuff, Jody, right? So I help people who want choices and freedom, that get tired of their 9 to 5 and want their time back to create a fulfillment, to happiness, by coaching and consulting them with our business, WD Pearson Associates, and who want to have their own passion to create and grow their business, as well as helping people get affordable legal protection with our company Legal Shield, IT Shield, and small business. Thank you, Jody, for having me on your show.
Well, I'm so happy to have you here. I met you. It's interesting. All three of you, the minute I met you, I had that instant connection, right? And so, so I'm really grateful to have you all here.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Wanda. Ashley, go ahead, honey.
My name is Ashley, and I don't own a business, but I am on the path of, which is a great topic for today, self-respect, learning to grow more spiritually, connecting with the universe, and what I learned sharing with others. And I've learned so much from you, Jody, so I am excited about today's show as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I've learned so much from you, and you have been such a gift in my life. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Sister from another mister, right?
Right.
So today, and just bringing up my Podbean to make sure I have that going. So that's, if I look this way, I'm looking at the other computer because we've got multiple computers going. What do you all have to? So there's boundaries, respected, integrity, and boundaries. I always say they have to be healthy boundaries, and respect, as Ashley already said. She said, I'm working on self-respect, right? So in order to have healthy boundaries, you have to have self-respect. You have to be willing to speak your voice. What does that look like to you, Ashley? Let me start with you.
Well, I guess it started that not allowing other people to put me down and accept it. I didn't think words had power. And for the longest time, there was people in my life that were putting me down with words. And I would just accept it because I was like, they're just words. It doesn't really affect me. And it was until I started realizing how it was affecting me that I needed to start having boundaries, whether it was my brother or my ex-boyfriend or even a stranger. And that's when I really started to grow more. When I started realizing, well, if you're allowing somebody close to you to call you that, what do you think of yourself? So yeah, it's been a journey to finally kind of step out of that bubble of allowing that.
Well, I mean, and that's really huge. And it wasn't until so I studied, I studied with a variety of different organizations. One is Landmark Education, and at Landmark, they always say words are empty and meaningless. And so there's, how you interpret that is really important. And I think going back, because I started studying under them in 1989, I think what they're trying to say is don't give words power over you. Because words are not empty and meaningless. Matter of fact, words are vibrations in the air, which is one of the chapters in my book. And meaning they hold energy, and that energy gets sent to you, right? And or to whoever they're sending it to. Actually, and it bounces off all over the flipping universe. So so I think it's a really important concept to explore and understand for yourself.
Right.
So Naomi, why don't you go next?
I think it's really difficult to set boundaries sometimes. So I own a business, but I've also got a marriage and I've also got children. So making sure that, those boundaries are very, very clear for both people in the organization, but also for the children. I think, Jodie, you called me up once and I said, I'm really sorry, I'd love to chat, but right now it's dedicated to my children. They're just getting off the bus and I have to leave.
I know, I loved it.
Yeah. So, when my kids get home, they really want my attention. And it's been able to provide that and set those boundaries where I can park work and say stop. And it's difficult to do that when you own your own business. My husband takes on a lot of the operations of the business, so he's working on that all the time. And so one of the things that allows him to field some of the phone calls and me to dedicate that time to the children. But just setting those boundaries, and again, in the office, people will talk to me about accounts receivable, and I don't do anything to do with the accounts. I do the marketing. So don't expect, like my husband and I, to have had that conversation at home. If you have something to tell me, you speak to me directly, because otherwise that communication is lost. Well, I told James, it's like, well, that's nice. Like we have children, we have a life to live, we had food shopping. I didn't talk about you when we got home. So again, setting those boundaries and being quite clear.
Yeah, and that's huge. I've made the mistake twice this year of transferring. Well, there's transferring knowledge, right? Assuming one person because of relationship that they all have the same information.
Right.
Not true. And then I transferred trust. So there was a friend of mine. I assumed that I could trust the friend of the friend. Spoiler. You cannot transfer trust. Each person has to earn their own. Right? My lesson. Nothing wrong with anybody else. And not that there's anything wrong with me either. There's just a lesson.
Right.
Good advice.
Yeah. Wanda Dolly.
Wow, that's a big word for me and very important to me. Respect.
Mm-hmm.
I learned in working in corporate for 36 years at IBM, dealing with marketing and how people can disrespect you, or even like your relationships, right? I mean, I've been married 42 years, and what's important to me is the respect. I don't like to be disrespected. So I used to have to tell my marketing guys, I don't let my husband disrespect me. So why would I let you disrespect me? So it's building, like you said, that trust, right? So I mean, I had to get that, and they actually looked up to me because I said that. And it's about, treating people the way you want to be treated. That is very important to me. How do you treat people? Is how it's going to come back to you. So it really makes a really big difference. But I said respect is an attitude too. Sometimes your facial expressions, your tones, all of that comes across as maybe disrespectful, or even like sending a text. Right? You send a text to somebody, it's not meant that way, but sometimes it comes across the wrong way. And setting those boundaries is so important. As the ladies were saying, I had to set those boundaries. As you grow, you set boundaries, and you don't want anybody to disrespect you. You don't want them to cross the boundaries. But that is something that I really cherish. I had to teach my daughters that. We have two daughters, and I have six grandchildren. So that's hard. I know. I know.
Well, yeah, and I've called you when you've got all the kids going on in the background. Yeah, not
Mm-hmm.
easy.
Mm-hmm. Not easy. I said, Nana's on the phone, so do not talk to me when Nana's on the phone. But they don't know if I have my earpiece in. I said, Nana has my earpiece in, so you have to respect what I'm doing and make sure that you don't talk when I'm talking. So it's really about teaching people and your boundaries, and about having that integrity. And we're going to get into integrity too. That's another important word for me. And how you actually make people feel, but also making sure that they know how you feel about being disrespected and being respected. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, which is just really crazy. So, my husband and I spent the last 5 days training on neuro-linguistic programming. And the really cool thing is that Dr. Matt James, who owns Empowerment Incorporated, this was handed down to him from his father. So he started NLP when he was 11.
Oh,
And yeah, I know. And he's like my age, like probably 50 something. Well, he's probably 50 something. He's younger than me because yeah. And I'm just kind of like, cool, right? But the thing is, I really, really had to put my past learning aside to open up my brain to a whole new concept about what respect is, what boundaries are, integrity. And what I want to tell you in a nutshell, and we'll do a deeper dive as we get in, is that what means respect for Ashley is different than respect for Naomi, is different for respect for me and you, Wanda.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
so I've been an assumption making machine, like, assuming, well, didn't they grow up that way? I thought everybody understands these foundational things.
Yeah.
So what is foundational for you? Like, Wanda, what's one of the things for you that's just foundational when it comes to respect? How does that show up?
Well,
Or how do you want it to show up?
how I wanted to, and it goes back to respect, setting those boundaries, and the foundation of how you set yourself up as far as a person, as far as in business. Um, that foundation is what you said. I mean, like in my book, I actually had to set my foundations to say, okay, I don't want to be like this. I don't want this to happen to me. I don't want this to happen to my daughters. Um, but those foundations you set as you go along, as you grow up, you learn those those foundations and setting those boundaries to be able to not let anybody disrespect you.
Well, I mean, but here's the thing. So some people don't mind, like, okay, so I have my office and, I have permission to discuss this. My husband and I were officing out of the same home, right, at one point in time, and that's not how it is today. And so he had the thought, because he's one office over, that he could just walk in and have his meeting or and I'm like, but I'm in the middle of doing something. Can you text? He goes, well, why would I text when we're in the same place? I'm like, because I'm in a meeting. And so,
Exactly.
but his mindset is about being connected and being in community. And for him, a text message is not connected and in community. So he wants to do the loving thing. And I'm like, but I'm all about business right now. So he's thinking he's being super respectful, right? And he's being loving and he's being in community. But his wife is in go mode.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's not that he's actually disrespectful. It's that he doesn't understand what's important to me at that point in time and what a process is that's important for me to function in my day to day.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay. But you, Wanda, you may not have an issue with it, or Naomi or Ash, you guys may not have an issue with that. You may have a different one about what helps you be supported.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, and that you say my husband, I'm sitting downstairs and he's upstairs and he texts me or calls me. And I'm like, but I'm right down here. Why are you texting and calling me? I'm like, really? He said, so I hear what you said, but actually on my door in my office, I had making millions. I have this actually name tag that says, okay, off boundaries. I'm in the middle of doing business. I'm in a podcast. I'm in a webinar. So setting boundaries is very important to me. But I just want to say one thing, Jody. My father taught me assuming. Don't assume anybody's gonna do it. It makes an ass out of you and me.
Right.
And I never understood that until I got older. I said, oh, that's what he's talking about. You can't assume anything about anybody because you don't know what they're going through. So,
well, and that's just the other thing. So, I'm just going to make a note of it because I want to have, I want to come back. I got to get my notepad, but I want to come back to the fact that we don't know what other people are going through.
right.
And remind me to talk about Dr. Josh Axe and my encounter with him. Okay. Because he did a video and it explained a whole lot. So, but before we do that, Ashley, why don't we go to you since you're the one leaving sooner than later, right?
Okay.
What are some areas where you made maybe an assumption, right? Or had an expectation of somebody to respect you in a certain way and they think they're doing good and you're like, yeah, no.
Well, I just had a situation this week with Rand, my boyfriend. And it was more about boundaries, and in his mind, I had asked him to do something about 2 months ago and it wasn't done. And it was regarding our relationship and, things that were affecting it energetically. And in his mind, he was like, well, I'm doing what you asked. And I'm like, it's not that I want you to do what I asked. It's respecting our relationship, which involved, an outsider. And in his mind, he didn't think it was a big deal. And I know sometimes men think differently than women, but I had to explain, and I didn't want to get too upset, but because I was getting upset. But once we actually sat down and I had to explain to him how it was disrespectful to me, he understood much better. And he couldn't really communicate it because he was getting upset because he didn't understand it, of why it was so disrespectful to me. But the more we started deep diving into it, which was great because, I probably didn't have that experience in other relationships. He understood. And it finally like we go, okay, we got past that hump. So it was a big breakthrough for our relationship. For him to understand me a little bit better and respect and boundaries and what I'm willing to accept, because I don't want to be the type to say, "Oh, I already warned you. Oh, well, we already talked about this." I don't do that anymore. I think I had done that before in the past, and part of my growth is not accepting it and not giving you a warning for the 10th time. Like, you either get it or I'm gonna move on. But that's just having respect for myself, and that's my boundaries.
Yeah, it's interesting because someone said, they said to me, well, once they apologize, can't you just move on? And I'm
No.
like, yeah, no, because sometimes apologies are used as a way to
To get out.
exit the conversation and manipulate the person, right?
Right.
And so, so for me, especially being an empath, and I know everyone here is on the show today, being an empath, I need to know that it's anchored in. Like, do they get it? Is it anchored in? It's not that they can just repeat it and say,
Right.
yes, I need to put the milk in the refrigerator, but they can actually anchor in the consequence of not putting the milk in the refrigerator. So it's kind of locked into their psyche, and now they can affect a new behavior.
Right. I mean, just to add on to that, sorries don't mean anything to me anymore. I heard sorries for like almost my whole life. That I preferred an action instead of a saying. And part of that conversation that I had with my boyfriend was, he's like, "Oh, you tell me your truth all the time," and I'm like, "Yes, I can speak it, but I'm not being heard." And he was like, "That's very poetic," but it was true, and it helped him understand a little bit better. So.
Yes, and I'm gonna tell you, Ashley, that is so true. But I actually put on my husband's mirror, because you told me this when we were dating. Action speaks louder than words. Your words are not speaking, but action. So I had to end up just a month ago, put a thing on his mirror. Action speaks louder than words, because you say, "Well, I'm sorry," but what are you sorry for? You can't even remember what he's sorry for.
Thank you. Because we learned as kids to use it as an exit strategy from getting in trouble from our parents.
Always. My boyfriend's son is always everything. He gets in trouble. "Oh, I'm sorry." And I'm like, "No more sorries."
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, truly, after the conversation, if somebody wants to apologize and not use the word "I'm sorry," by the way, because it's low vibration, but if they want to apologize after the conversation, after it's anchored in, I'm cool.
Right.
Yeah. Naomi, go for it, doll. And I'm looking for my crown. Oh, here it is.
Put your birthday crown on.
One of the things that I think about with this conversation is a book called "I'm Surrounded by Idiots."
Oh,
It's such a great book to not only work out like who you are, but also some of the things of way other people think. So my husband and I think very, very differently. I'm a little bit like you, Jody, like, let's go, let's go, let's go. And he's very methodical and detailed. And I can get quite frustrated with what looks to be like slow motion with him. And it's not slow motion. It's more him just researching and understanding a problem from a different aspect. And that book really spoke to me, and I will read it again and again, just because each time I read it, I learn more about myself and more about others as well. I'm quite, like I said, I'm quite go. So when my daughter and my husband are slow moving, I'm frustrated, but I have to remember they're not moving slow on purpose. It's just who they are.
Well, and actually, and I have both sides, Naomi. Like,
Right.
I can be in go mode. I have really modified my behavior to go into be more methodical, because I was missing pieces, and I have both sides of that brain, and I use them as needed. Now, my husband is really a visionary, and like when I'm authoring an article, and in this case now my book, you really don't want anybody better than my husband because he's amazing. Like he'll catch every little last thing. And
Right.
his mom, taught him to really, they all understand grammar well, right? And there are times then on the flip side where we're in public and we're going places and he's in go mode and he's a mile ahead of me and I'm like, okay, bye-bye. Because I'm not going to race through life and trying to fight some, public transportation or public crowd just so I can be first.
Which is
What
really,
am I being first in?
which is really interesting. So I went to my son's parent conference yesterday, and that is exactly what he's doing. He wants to be first all the time. He's very competitive. And part of this, I'm like, is this me rubbing off on him? How am I influencing this small child? Because I'm sure it's making a big impact.
Oh, we've got feedback. Does somebody
Yep.
have another mic open maybe?
Yep, that's me. Actually, I found out how to get on Podbean, so thank you.
Oh,
I don't want to call in because I'm already in. So
oh yeah, you don't need to call it.
sorry about that.
So if somebody does want to call into the show, they can. So Blog Talk went down, and so honestly, I think we just need to say goodbye to Blog Talk, but we'll see what happens. So you can go to Podbean, you download the app, and then you can just request. And I'm sorry, I'm just checking my screen over here to my left. There's like a little thing that says call in, and you just press the button or whatever, and then I bring you on to ask your questions live, or you can post your questions or thoughts. So just a couple things. I want to go through what people are saying. So Teddy June says, good morning, dear Susan Essentials. Love you always. I love you back. And then we have Teddy again, and she says, Naomi, Georgia Roof Advisors. I'm a retired code certified home inspector among many other hats. Polyurethane ceilings are number one. I've seen every bad repair attempt out there. So are you guys using polyurethane sealants?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so we need to talk offline about detox.
Sure.
For your body.
And in terms of bad repairs, yes, we've seen a lot.
Yeah, but we'll talk offline about detox because that's, if y'all are working with that, you also need to make sure that your body is properly processing that out.
Right.
And then Naima says, grand rising to all of you very wise teachers. Open, honest communication is so important in understanding each other so we don't assume, and she spoke it out for us very eloquently, another's motives.
Yes.
And, I think that we're always making assumptions. And, I know I am. Before, it's already 8:30. You need to go, Ashley, or do you have
wait 5 minutes?
Okay, so do you want to talk about what are some ways in which you have established what did boundaries look like for you before? What did you do to establish healthy boundaries? And what are you doing now? What are you learning?
Well, I think the way I started moving forward is I started cutting people out of my life. But it got to that point, and I think I shared this story with you, which is how we got to this topic was my brother was physical with me.
Right.
And, I didn't care that he was my brother. I was so fed up at that point, and I had just kind of come out of a relationship that was mentally toxic for me as well. And you put up with it for so long, you think it's you get used to it. I thought it was a normal part of life to be called put down or to be treated a certain way. And I think when I started exiting out of it, I was so tired of it, and that's when I started working on myself. And yeah, the minute that he thought it was okay to put his hands on me because he was angry, is when I was like, I need to start changing. And I think I never really put boundaries. I think I would react with anger towards people, which wasn't benefiting me either.
Right.
And then that's basically what I started doing. So it didn't matter to me anymore that he was, excuse me, my brother. It just was, he was another human who was projecting on me negatively. And so I kind of just started distancing myself from him. And then other people, anytime I felt like, as I started changing and shifting that and working on myself and working with you and learning how to protect your energy, and that kind of brought me into learning how to protect my boundaries. Yeah, anytime I find somebody who is not going in a positive mode, or I feel it, or they project name calling, I kind of just like, I don't need to put up with this anymore. And it takes strength and it takes courage, and it was hard for me probably to not really talk to him anymore, but it was better for me mentally and obviously physically, and that wasn't okay at all. But it's terrible that I got to that point, but it was a learning lesson for me, and it was a growing lesson for me. And that's pretty much what I started doing now. And I'm more in tune with energy. So the minute I kind of feel somebody's off, I kind of like have my antennas up and I pay attention more. So instead of just projecting the attitude or the anger, I just distance myself.
Yeah, and this is a really good point, and I'm gonna put a twist in this, Ashley. So just be prepared, okay? So I'm not advocating for anybody raising a hand to somebody, but I want to tell you the other side. So my brother also did that to me, by the way, and strangled me, threw me across the room, ended in the hospital, imprints on my neck, and of course, when I went to my dad for protection, he popped the trunk, said, because he was in the mafia, right? And he said, well, you call the police on your brother, I'll put you in that trunk and no one's ever going to find you. I'm like, oh, nice. So now let me back up and go to science, because, I want to tell you that, and it doesn't take away someone's responsibility and accountability for their actions and their behavior. So let me just put that out there again. What I'm about to say doesn't take away their responsibility and accountability for their behavior. Okay? What I learned is that the toxins that we have, and I actually might even have it on, no, I don't, but I do have it. So the toxins that we consume, right, are wreaking havoc with our brain. Okay. And so how that shows up as erratic emotional behavior and responses to things, or reactions to things versus responses. They can have consumed some sort of toxin, which our food supply is laden with toxins. Okay. And because our food supply is laden with toxins, it impairs the ability of the brain to get blood flow. Okay, so here is like 10 years of alcohol, all those pock marks that you see, those are the areas of the brain that are not getting blood flow. So 6 years of, smoking, marijuana, let me just see something here. Opiates, cocaine, alcohol, meth. But what they don't show is just basic toxins on this one, okay? And a toxic brain is actually just as bad. And where are those toxins coming from? Your food and water supply.
So I've got something to add to that, Jodie.
Yeah.
My youngest is 6, and he had one of those Kona ice lollies, and it's basically frozen ice with like a squirt of sugar.
Yeah.
And he had a couple of those. Well, he had one, but a lot of he was helping himself to the squirt. And he turned quite aggressive at 6 and was running around just being super crazy. And then fell asleep. He'd almost like just exhausted himself from so much energy and craziness. And I believe it was the red dye in that Kona ice lolly.
Which, by the way, was just outlawed in California.
I believe that.
Yeah,
It's outlawed in England.
Yeah, well, and so it creates hyperactivity, right?
It did.
Right. And what you want to know is that like sugar, these red dyes, these toxins are lighting up pleasure centers of the brain, 8 pleasure centers of the brain. Cocaine, which you can see what the damage is on the brain of cocaine. Let's get that one up there again. That's 4 years of cocaine. Doesn't even compare actually to toxicity because I don't have toxic brain up here. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. And so the toxicity is things like sugar. It's things like, the red dye 40, blue, all the different dyes, the parabens, like all of that. And because your brain is 70% fat, and when a body can't process a toxin, which it cannot process a synthetic, it has to get stored in your fat cells. And so it's, usually starts in the brain. And then if you're gaining weight, like I did from overexposure to the EMF toxins, I gained 50 pounds, right? Lost 30 of it. But the point is that our bodies are not capable of processing it. And then it also makes us reactive versus responsive. And so now I want to go back to the fact that my brother was hitting me. Number one, it's what he learned from my dad, learned behavior. Number two, we were all exposed to stuff. And then, about a couple decades later, he had a brain tumor, and that was slow growing. So I actually don't have anger to him. I totally forgave him because what we're doing to people, I look at Earth as this mass experiment, and we're using all this toxicity on people and then expecting them to act like, calm, cool, and collected. And it's really a hard thing to do when your body's being overloaded with toxins. And so, again, I'm not justifying. My brother had no right to hit me. Your brother had no right to hit you. But then we have to say, is it the person or is it the toxins in the person? Can we help them? Can they help themselves? Can we give them a suggestion? Now, ultimately, it's their responsibility to get themselves help. So, do you need to go, Ash?
Yes, I do. Actually.
Yeah, it's 8:39. I know you need.
I do.
So I just want to thank you for popping in and sharing your wisdom.
Thank you.
And sharing your stories. Your stories are helping other people.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Good seeing you. We got to connect.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. So if your boundaries are being blown by someone, we can take on the victim mode, which technically, you are being victimized, but the victim mentality also doesn't help, does it, Wanda?
Nope.
No.
Not at all. Not at
right.
all.
And you have stories about this too. Do you want to share?
Yeah, exactly what Ashley was talking about. Of course, in my book, I talk about the abuse that I suffered at the hands of my stepfather. And that was something, and that's what we said, people, the words that people say you think is that is maybe you blame yourself. But that didn't help. I had to learn how to forgive as well. So forgiving those who have actually done, we don't understand at that time why that's happening. And Ashley was right. What's taught to you goes on with your childhood, but I know that's something that I did not want to be a part of. So I'm just thankful that I was able to get out of that now it's not a relationship, but as far as even my mother, I'm glad I was thankful she got out of that relationship, but it took years for her to get out of that. And I was seeing this, and I know I have to say, with God's help, we were able to survive the abuse that we had. So, and like you were saying, Joe, I mean, your brother, he watches his father, and what do you call it? Generational curse. That's what I'm saying. Generational curse.
Yes.
So yeah. So that is something that you have to learn not to be part of, that generational curse. And I was thankful that I was able to get out of that. So yeah.
Well, and it is a generational curse because it's passed on as a behavior
Mm-hmm.
as if it's okay, and it's not, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And because we were accepting, we didn't have boundaries, right?
Mm-hmm.
Women didn't have boundaries
Mm-hmm.
back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
We had to, it wasn't good. Hold on a second. Yes. She says hello. First of all,
Hello.
she says, hi, Naomi. Hi, Wanda.
Hi there.
And what is it you want to say? So interesting. So she's talking about the boundaries that she has with Tinkerbell, her mate.
Mm-hmm.
And she's saying that Tinkerbell and her go to bed every single night, cuddled up next to each other. She goes, and we are together. Okay, be kind, be kind. She says, but we spend a lot of the time of the day apart because Tinkerbell needs her space. And she goes, and she had to learn that. She goes, at first, she goes, I didn't. She goes, and I just wanted to be with Tinker all the time, which that's kind of Faggy, right? Faggy wants to be with someone all the time. And she goes, and then, she goes, Mommy, you got me a playpen and you got me different places to be in the house. So she goes, I can give Tinkerbell space to just have her own downtime and alone time.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, and people should do that too.
That is so true.
She's
That is so true. Yeah, no matter how many years you're married, sometimes we need to have that space. We need that, and that's what boundaries come in. I need to have my space to talk or do whatever I need to do. So, thank you for giving us that wisdom.
She is so smart. She is so smart. I love her.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
are you showing everybody your underalls? Why don't we go to commercial real quick, and then Naomi, let's come back to you. All right, and we'll talk about boundaries.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
What you got here? Wow. Hi, I'm Jody Susan with Susan Essentials. I started Susan Essentials in 2015 because of a personal health journey. I was over-medicated and put on 19 different medications. And yes, I reversed all my chronic diseases using plant and energy-based healing. It was amazing. At Susan Essentials, we support both consumers and businesses, and we do that with helping your employees or yourself with a food as medicine mindset. How Susan Essentials supports businesses and consumers is we teach people about a food as medicine mindset. So we support people on how to support their own immune system, how to support their brain health, how to support their emotional well-being. And we do that all with plant and an energy-based healing. All right, we are back. And so, so let's talk about boundaries more. What are some issues, Naomi? How have you had to handle boundaries? Like, what's a big one that's been coming up for you, and how do you set them, and how do you?
I'm actually struggling a little bit with boundaries. My 9-year-old is like a mini version of myself. And when I was her age, I was insatiable that I wanted to always be with somebody. And that is exactly what she does. So I walk around the house when she walks around after me. And I'm trying to set those boundaries for her to not always look for somebody else to provide entertainment or happiness. And it's a challenge. It's a challenge because her love language is time. She wants to be with people. And yeah, it's tough. So if you have any advice, I'll take that.
Yeah, before we and I do, but before we do, Wanda, do you have advice or do you have boundary things that you want to share about, and then we'll tie it all together?
Yeah, setting those boundaries, and I guess we didn't really thought about boundaries, the words as we were growing up, right? But your daughter, and I was gonna say, your daughter wants to be in my daughter was the same way when she was there. So everything I did, dance, she wanted to do everything that I was doing, learning how to dance or whatever. So, you start setting the boundaries as far as communication, talking to her or talking to people, and just, making sure they understand this is my time that I want to myself, or I'm in the middle. And so I actually said, well, my husband, for instance, he asked me questions. I may be in the middle of something, and I had to tell him, ask me before you just assume that, I'm there and I don't have, I have the time, but I don't have the time. I'm in the middle of doing things like, like finishing my book. That was one thing I had to set boundaries with. But it's just about this communication of, okay, I need to do this at this time. And he asked me now, what do you have for today? And I tell him what in my schedule. And what I end up doing was actually adding him to my calendar so he
Yes.
knows. But you have got to look at your calendar to see what I have going on, because it's on your calendar. You have to accept it. So that's actually setting the boundaries as far as our calendar. My calendar is so important to me. It has to be on my calendar for me to remember. It really makes a big difference.
Amen, sister.
Yeah, yeah.
And actually, I did. What do you got there, honey? Anyway, so first of all, I did that with my husband too, right? Where I started, we added each other to the calendar for the date. And so Naomi, what I would say relative to your daughter, well, this is what I found out about myself actually as a kid. When I was working for someone else, my motivation to work came from knowing I had a date on Saturday night. So I would focus on all my work and get it all done so I could just be present for this date on Saturday night. And I'm wondering if there could be for your daughter a planned play date or a planned something. So, it's savvy. We're going to do this at this time. I'm going to make sure I'm done, and make sure you can honor your word, Naomi, or renegotiate the agreement if you need to, right? And suggest to her that mommy needs to do this, and and then say, what are some things that you like to do and you like to accomplish? And say, so we'll both be working towards our play date at this time. Does that make sense?
I mean, I did that yesterday. My son wanted to carve his pumpkin. And I'm like, well, as soon as we carve it, it kind of starts to decay. So we have put in the calendar and written it. I'm quite visual. We have lots of different calendars. So I've got like the weekly board with all the plans of food and when people are coming home, but also, the monthly. So he's written on there, pumpkin carving, next Friday, the 27th, whatever it is. So he can visually see that. And I definitely think that helps. I always try and use different methods of communication. So I am visual, but that doesn't mean my husband is. So, it's trying to make sure that we have different ways of communicating, repetitive ways as well, especially with the kids.
What ways?
Say again?
So you said different ways, and you said something.
Different ways of communicating, so verbally as well as visual, as well as, like I asked Thomas to write down the pumpkin carving for the 27th, so he'd written it, not me.
Right.
And I was like, you know what, it's now the 17th. I hope he's not going to ask for the next 10 days, because I can just point to the calendar and be like, ta-da, instead of that constant, no, we can't carve the pumpkin, no, we can't carve the pumpkin, like, ah.
So, and then here's the other thing, you want to get them into yes mode.
Right.
So it's, we get to carve the pumpkin, you could say, whatever the date you chose, like 8 more sleep nights, 8 more sleeps, right? Or 7 more sleeps until it's pumpkin carving day. I'm so excited. It's a reframe.
Right.
Also something we talked about in NLP, which I just want to say, if anybody wants to understand human behavior, starting with your own,
right?
Starting with you, and then, take NLP. And then I would say, if you want to take NLP, take it with this guy, because there's a lot of people who offer it, but this guy is the most. Look, I've trained under Dr. John D. Martini. I've trained under Maxwell. I've trained under, got my, Dr. Josh Axe. I mean, name it. I have trained under some of the most amazing people, I think, in the planet, and he's right up there with them, if not one of the best. So, and I wanted to talk about Dr. Josh Axe. I'm going to pivot for a moment, because it dovetails everything that we're talking about. So, as you guys know, I'm a nutritionist, an energy healer, brain health professional. Like, there's a list, right? But at the end of the day, my MBA is in people. It's organizational behavior. It's about understanding people. Why do we do what we do? Which is why I wanted to take NLP. And knowing that we have the capacity to do anything we want if we choose to, we just have to shift our mindset in order to accomplish that. And it's about getting out of the box. So, or in my case, circle, because my little ginkgo leaf here pops out of the circle. So last May, year ago May, I went for leadership training with Dr. Josh Axe in Tennessee. And I drove up there as a potential for joining his leadership program. And I wanted to know his thoughts about a concept I have called place of peace. And part of what it does is puts the brain in a theta state, a state of calm, so that you can be present in the moment. And in 15 to 20 minutes, you come out, you feel like you've had 2+ hours of sleep. Some people come like, oh my God, I feel like I have 8 hours of sleep. And it allows you then to shift mindset and really take control of your life. And as you both know, I was disabled for almost 4 years. And I really attribute my being able to get off of disability that quickly, because some people, once they get on, they never come off. They're tethered to that paycheck. To my ability to think outside the box. Okay. And to recreate and co-create with the universe what I wanted. That's mindset. So Dr. Josh Axe, for those of you who don't know who he is, he's a master of nutrition. And he has been for a very long time teaching the world about nutrition, how he helped his mom overcome breast cancer, using nutrition and essential oils. Okay. After I met him, I had no idea. We don't walk in other people's shoes, right? When I met him in person a year ago, May, he was not nice. He was very unkind. and he wouldn't hear anything of what I had to say about why I would even consider joining his leadership program. And I'm like, but if you're not interested in learning about what I do and how you might be able to help my program be received by the world, why am I joining your program? Right? And so he gets on. Now, this is a month ago. There's a YouTube video, and I encourage you all to look it up. So it's Dr. Josh Axe, and he talks about how he was very sick, and he was getting these injections. I guess there was some sort of infection maybe, or something on the needle. He was very, very sick. He lost a ton of weight, and the doctor said he would be paralyzed for life. He'll be in a wheelchair. And he said, no, thank you. And he said, I'm here to tell you that I've been teaching about nutrition all my life as the way to reclaim your health. And he goes, I'm also here to tell you I was wrong. He said, there's nothing more important than your mindset. Because it was his mindset that helped him reclaim his health.
Exactly.
Wanda, you are biting at the bit. What do you have to say, sweetheart?
No, mindset is a big difference. And that's what you said. Sometimes you have to get rid of people who are toxic to you. And you have to learn that. But mindset is so important. You know, coming from a corporate background and getting into a networking background and having my own creation here, I always talk about mindset. Mindset, when you can connect with other people like-minded, makes a big difference. But yeah, that is something that's very, very important. I talk about that all the time as far as the mindset. You know, what kind of mindset you're in, where you are in your lives, where you are in your business. How do you connect with other people that actually is on the same wavelength as you are? You know, so yeah, that is a very important aspect of how you create your boundaries, to respect. All of that is part of the mindset.
Well, I'd like one of you to give people permission to cut people out, because somebody out there is afraid to cut somebody out of their life.
I think you'll be really surprised. I went to an event once, and someone said, if you have someone in your office that you wouldn't go on holiday, get rid of them. And I was like, that's harsh. And when we came back, they no longer worked with us. And it was like a breath of fresh air. It was like a huge relief of the drama and the stress that had been caused by this one person. And it was exactly that. It was the permission to go and do that. And yeah, it literally is breath of fresh air.
Thank you. Wanda, do you have to add to that, or have you done that as well?
Yeah, I have, and I don't want to say it on air, but yeah, I have. But I mean,
Well, so let me just say this. When we close a door, God opens up another one.
Absolutely.
And she says, oh, I'm not sure what that was. So Vieta, it looks like your thing posted too quickly. Okay, so she's got something because she's chewing on the bit. Okay, so Fag, what is it? And she walked up the entire flight of stairs to get here, this little body. So what is it that you have to say? Is it about letting go of people? Yeah, it is. Okay, so what is it you want to say about letting go of people? Okay, so the first thing is she wants me to let people know is that when you let go of those people, and you'll have a lot of fear around it. Many people have fear. But she's saying that one of two things will happen. She said that either they will come back with respecting your boundaries or honoring your boundaries. That's number one. Yes. Okay. And she's saying the other thing is, or the universe will open up the door to bring someone else into your life that will honor your boundaries, that aligns with your current vibration and your current expectations because of the law of attraction. She's saying don't operate from fear, operate with the trust in a higher power that it's got your back. Anything else on that or no? Yes. Okay, whose show is it?
I think it's her show.
I think it's her show too. She's like all in my stuff. She's showing me about boundaries.
Yeah, she wants to be part of the conversation.
Yeah, she wants to show what unhealthy boundaries look like.
Yeah. But she's very smart. She's very smart. I
know. But she's showing us all what unhealthy boundaries looks like. Because if anybody was watching from the beginning, I had a couple necklaces on that came off. You know? And I do let her get away with it most of the time. And then when I get frustrated, I just put her back in her condo. And I create that boundary. She's laughing. So let's move on to integrity. My definition of integrity is, well, it's multifold, but it's doing the right thing when no one's looking, right? And then the other thing is, and I would like to hear from our community, because we have people on different platforms right now. You know, what is your definition of healthy boundaries? What's your definition of integrity? What are your stories? Can you share? Or if you don't want to share, do you have a question for Wanda or Naomi or myself? Yeah, if you've got questions, this is your time to ask. So, so back to integrity. It's doing the right thing when no one's looking. It's also, we got 9:00. We're supposed to go to commercial, and I'm going to try to stay on that. Be integrous about it. There you go. Let me go to integrity. All right, let me go to commercial. We'll come right back to integrity. So everyone gets a little bit of a break. All right. Okay. All right. Hi, I'm Jody Susan with Susan Essentials. I started Susan Essentials in 2015 because of a personal health journey. I was over-medicated and put on 19 different medications. And yes, I reversed all my chronic diseases using plant and energy-based healing. It was amazing. At Susan Essentials, we support both consumers and businesses, and we do that with helping your employees or yourself with a food as medicine mindset. How Susan Essentials supports businesses and consumers is we teach people about a food as medicine mindset. So we support people on how to support their own immune system, how to support their brain health, how to support their emotional well-being. And we do that all with plant and an energy-based healing. So we retired the bird. I mean, that was just so not easy. She is all up in my stuff. And because we're talking about boundaries and respect, she's just demonstrating what not to tolerate. So, okay. So we have a couple of comments. So one is from Vieta, which might be a little long to put up here, but I'm going to do my best. So it cuts you off, Wanda. Sorry about that. So we'll read it and then take it down. And she's back. Okay. So Vieta says, asking advice about a business relationship with a person who has mental illness. Well, I think everyone in the world has mental illness. The illness stems from being in the military too long and suffering with PTSD, homelessness, drug addiction, and emotional outbursts. Told him he needed to have a long conversation with his partner about his concerns and probably end that relationship that might interfere with his goals is developing a larger customer base to build tiny houses. Okay, go ahead. Wanda, you're shaking your head. Naomi, go for it. Thoughts?
Yeah. Naomi, you want to go first or you want me to go first here?
I'll let you go for that, Wanda.
Yeah, when I was working, I keep bringing back corporate for 36 years. And when I got into our own thing, with our business, Legal Shield, W. Pearson Associates, I actually, and it's funny because one of the guys that I started network, he said, Wanda, I want you to do, speak. And I said, okay, what can I speak about? And I actually spoke about integrity. And I still have my PowerPoint on integrity, because that is something that is so important to me. Because when you're making a commitment to someone, you expect to keep your word, right? If not, you're not trusted, and that's where trust comes in. And the next time you actually do something, you're not going to trust that person. But it's about showing up on time. It's about letting that person know that I'm going to be late or I'm not answering the phone. But you get some people that don't even, you text them and you send a message and they don't respond back. That's integrity. So integrity really, it means as far as the moral and ethical convictions that we make by doing the right thing in all circumstances. So the question that the person was asking, yeah, that's like that conversation needs to be held. And it's about professionalism, to be able to follow up and confirm or talk to someone and let them know that the integrity of their partner business relationship needs to, well, in the night, that's a lot of things to deal with: PTSD, mental illness, all of that. It needs to be having a communication conversation with them as far as being accountable. How can you be accountable to our business to be able to have that integrity? Because I mean that's how you can lose business if you don't have that integrity to build that professionalism and communication. Then you really don't succeed. So
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, the woman that I just published in my ad in Canada, made an agreement to publish my ad and my article. And she, made a unilateral decision to not publish my article after I wrote it, after she graphically designed it. And she goes, well, it was a bonus. I decided not to. And I'm kind of like, read between the lines. And you pick the finger that is appropriate. It's not okay to make unilateral decisions, especially after you take someone's money. And am I going to pursue it? Because I've got bigger fish to fry. And if she needs the $450 that bad, then she deserves it. And then she'll get her lesson somewhere else. She'll get her lesson. And, but you just can't be taking people's money, making a promise and not delivering. And one of the things that I've always done, there you go, Figgy, is try to over-deliver. Under promise, over-deliver, which I know the both of you stand in that. the both of you stand in the under promise, over deliver mentality all day. And like, you both vibrate in a way that has me trust you. I know that you're steadfast. I mean, Naomi, I haven't had you inspect my roof yet, but your values, right? They scream, integrity. I mean, you were saying back an hour ago about how when you and I were talking on the phone, one of the first times you said that you were talking to your kids and you really need to spend the time with your children because they were home. And I'm like, I love that you have healthy boundaries. I honor that. I love that. I love that you know where you need to be.
And I think that comes back to Vieta. I don't know whether her friend was calling to complain or to vent.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things I like about you, Jody, is that you often ask, "Do I have permission to speak? Like, are you happy to hear?" I think sometimes people just want to complain, but I think at the same time, with Vieta's friend, they really need to look at their why and their goals. And really dig down into, is this really their goals? Is this really their why? And is it the direction they want to be going in? And what's the alternative? I think that's really, really important is, if you've struggled previously with, homelessness and drug addiction, then is that something that they want to go back to? Probably not. But, looking forward rather than backwards is really, really important, and showing them that light if they're able to see it.
Yeah, and I think you make really good points. I mean, does this align with their highest values? And please don't take this the wrong way, because I'm not trying to minimize this person's mental health, especially since my focus is on mental health. It's emotional health, toxic-free living, right? Look, I really don't know many people in the world who don't have some sort of form of PTSD. I really don't. Wanda, since you were abused, you had it. If you don't still, I don't know if you still have it, but at one point I know you did.
Yeah.
I did. Naomi, how old are you? Okay, you do too.
Well,
if you've lived, you got PTSD, right? There's some sort of trauma, whether it's a small trauma or a little trauma, whether it's a physical trauma, emotional trauma, or toxic trauma. The exposure to all these, the 5G towers and cell towers and all the electrosmog, that is a trauma. And so your body walks into an environment that is highly, has a ton of electrosmog. And now that's a trauma, and you can have a post-traumatic response to that, so I don't want to give energy to that, because what the real issue then would be is, are you of mind yet to be taking on being self-employed? Because that is not an easy journey. It takes commitment to yourself and a willingness to say no, and a willingness to say no when you really want to say yes. Like avoid the people pleasing, right? And so, and she says, I'm sorry, you're going to get cut off again, Wanda. Drug addiction, emotional outbursts. Well, so drug addiction, they go hand in hand, right? Emotional outbursts are part of that addiction. I'm speaking this Saturday at St. Simons, Georgia, about how to live toxic free and how to, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not going to say you have to do this step-by-step process to, and this program, because that's not who I am, to get off of drugs. But I had to get off of whatever 19 different drugs when I was over medicated. That's still an addiction. I hate to tell you, right? It was a pharmaceutical addiction, but it was an addiction. And so, and I was paying for it, right? And so my approach to something like that is to live toxic free, starting with your water supply. Because if you get the toxins out of your water supply, there's like 90% of your problem, like 90%. And I'm getting pinged and they're saying that percent's probably too high. Talk about the air supply. Right. I mean, so, but you get my point. So I exaggerated it a little bit. Forgive me. So I guess really, I would say that person has to have a conversation with themselves. They have to know, like what Naomi was saying, what's their mission, what's their vision. Can they breathe into that? Can they can they choose to let go of the things that don't serve them and move forward? And I want to tell you that's a lot of hard work. Yeah, I'm going to share this. So over the weekend, one of the very last exercises that I did in NLP, and I honestly don't remember what it was, but like really I wanted to let go. I knew that I had an issue with success. I had an issue with money, meaning, and I know this is a common issue, and we all come to it in different ways. That I was I knew that on a subconscious level that I had an issue. I was scared about making money because money is the root of all evil. Money's evil, like, like all of that. And I never heard that said like as a common theme in our family, but I did at the age of 11 go to court with my dad because he had to go to jail because he signed a piece of paper when he was a developer. And he, look, he was a multimillionaire, and the banks knew it, and they thought he was a good bet, and they let him use the same collateral, multiple loans with one piece of collateral. And then they put him into jail for it. And I had to watch it. I had to, as an 11-year-old, we're all lined up 2 rows back, watching my father on trial and going to jail. Now they put him in night jail, meaning they let him out during the day so he could still be a taxpayer because he was a huge contributor to the Chicagoland area. He made shitloads of money for everybody. So they were just slapping his hand and keeping him away from his family. But nonetheless, I had a concept. I had a fear of success about going to jail. I erased it. So it's gone now. But you have to look at the subconscious mind. And what is it that's stopping you? So this is a great question, Beata. He has to look at what is stopping him from success. What's his real fear? I am now trained to do this, by the way. What is his real fear? What's stopping him from being the best version of himself? And it was the coolest exercise because they use both hands, you put them to the side, right? And you put them here and you envision what the problem is in this hand and you vision where you're going to be on the other hand. And over the course of like 10, 15 minutes, you find that both hands come together because they have the same mission and you let go of the problem. So I can talk about it, but I don't have a trigger. And the funny thing is I didn't even know that I had a problem until I got there. So the question is how many people in the world, everyone, has something that's limiting them from rising up? Do you come across this, Wanda, when you coach people?
Yeah, I do. And a lot of people do have fear. Fear is a false evidence appearing real. So a lot of people don't know where they want to start, where they want to go. So I've actually had a couple of people get their LLCs from me, and I had to I have to ask them, don't let your passion, go with your passion. Go with what God wanted you to do in your life. And it was just really just getting over that fear. I mean, I'm sure that's what they want to do, it to make money. But and I heard that a long time ago, Jody. As far as money is the root of all evil, and I said, okay, what kind of evil is money? But it's to help us pay our bills or whatever. But yeah, but now as far as coaching people to get over that fear and to have faith to know that God has you to do whatever He plans for you to do to get there. So yeah, it's quite a few things that you have to go through, but there's steps to get there, right? To be able to uh, to succeed in what you need to do.
Naomi, what do you have to say about that, doll?
I'm not sure that money is the root of all evil.
I agree with it that it's not, honestly.
Mhm.
So.
I do really struggle to spend money sometimes and to justify the cost of something. We've got 2 small children. We do a lot of like playing in the park and playing at the pool, and like we hike mountains. We take picnics. We do really cheap things. So, but I also believe that you have to kind of enjoy those foundational things in order to really enjoy the things you spend money on. Like you have to see the smaller things in life that actually generate a lot of happiness, and it isn't all about money. I think people's whys change frequently and their goals change frequently. And I think you have to really adapt and question often to make sure that you're always going in the right direction, because I typically do quarterly plans rather than annual plans. I don't sit down at New Year and say, for the whole year, I'm going to. I do it in quarterly increments. Otherwise, I forget what I'm working on. I did do a couple of years back. I did a mindset challenge. It was called 75 Hard, and it was hard. And one of the things that I learned from it was that I achieved it through pure determination rather than enjoyment. And I think that's really, really funny to kind of to step back and consider that. Like, why are you doing something? What does it mean to you? And what outcome do you want at the end of it? And is that goal taking you forward, pushing you forward, but also is it correct, or is it something you think maybe it's what you should be doing? And that's why I think about my goals on a quarterly basis. It helps me remain focused, and it helps me push forward.
Yeah, I like that. I like that what you did, because actually it's funny, because after this I'm taking a coaching class on goals, because we set goals, and I don't do that. You know how we used to say your New Year's resolution? Have anybody ever kept their New Year's resolution? No. So the quarterly
90
goals.
days, 90-day targets. It works amazingly.
Yeah.
And it really gives, you can see an output as well. If you do anything for 90 days, you can see a huge change. If you spread that 90-day target over, a 12-month period, the changes are so incremental. They're so tiny that you sometimes lose focus.
Yeah. That's true. But you forget what plans you made. What goals you set.
And I always write them down. Again, I'm visual. I love writing on my mirror. I have notes. I have a pad in the shower that you can write on. It's like with a wax kind of pen. So when I've got ideas or goals, I can see them. I've also had it where you can stick up whiteboards on walls, write all over them. I love to visualize it, and I love to achieve. So
well, you got to tell me where you get all that stuff, because I would like that to show.
It's great. It's really, really great.
That's awesome. I have mine on my mirror, my affirmation, my goals of what I want to do, and I actually have it in 2 bathrooms. So to remind you of what you have planned. Yep. That's great.
So I used to do that a lot, but now I'm just so laser focused on the things, like I don't even need the flipping paper anymore.
That's awesome. That's what
it took a lot.
I think that's what really, really helps, as well as things change. Some of those 90-day targets actually become foundationary. So part of the 75 hard was to drink a gallon of water. And I wanted to increase my water intake. Well, now I'm sat here, I've already got my drinks filled up. It's not on my list of things to do because it's become nature. It's become natural to me, and it's become, this is what I do every day. I fill up my water. So I think some of those things, if done in small, like, bite-sized chunks, then you can work it into becoming a routine and get better.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I agree.
So I love that. It transitioned from like a goal to foundation because you created a new habit and you were committed to it and you made it happen.
Yep.
Great example.
Yes. Yes. Definitely. Definitely.
Wanda, you have your book out. Can you send me a link in the chat so I can put it up?
Yes. Yes. And when you talk about as far as money, I have my book launch, and
October 14th. Yes.
Yeah, I didn't think about money. I just wanted to be nice, So of course my daughter, she's an event planner, and she's very extravagant, but she likes for it to be nice. So I don't even know how much I spent on the book launch, but I know that people enjoyed it. They enjoyed it, and it was a pleasure to really see and to finally get it out my own. Even though I'm a third-time author, but this was my own book that actually helped me to I had to stay focused. All of this, what we're talking about,
Right.
I had to bring it all into this book. And another thing, Jody, I know what you're talking about. We as far as forgiveness as well. When we have integrity, some things we get aggravated with, but I had to keep putting in with everything that I've been through. The back of my chapters is forgiveness. How do you forgive? How do you do this to be able to move forward, to receive your blessings? I know I had to learn that. And that's when God started blessing me with what I have, what I have now, and to be able to complete my book.
Sorry, God knew. So first of all, God blessed me way before I learned how to forgive, because he knew it was going to be a long-term commitment from him to me to teach me the thing about forgiveness.
Yeah. So read the end of my book, Jody.
No, so I mean, I'm there. I'm there. Because somebody forgave me 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And she didn't really have to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, that's what that looks like. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so, but one of the things that we talked about in NLP training was that, and I've said this often, when we don't forgive, it's drinking poison because it's harmful to our body.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's hoping that other person's going to die. So you're drinking the poison, which is the lack of forgiveness, hoping someone else is going to die.
I know. And I got to still keep forgiving, because it's just like, wow. I mean, that's harsh because you don't want it to happen to you, right? You want, so I leave that to God. And listen, it's about let go, let God. Let God take care of it because I can't, we can only do so much. So.
That's funny. So, okay, I'm bringing up your book. And how, and I have mine as well. Mine's in pre-sale mode. So let me just kind of clear up this screen here a little bit. Okay, so God's grace through the fire. Oh, I went to it, but I didn't share it. I am tired, people. I got home last night from Chicago. We unpacked our bags, made dinner, and got to bed as soon as possible. And that was 1 o'clock in the morning. Okay. I'm just going to say a little tired.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can see that on the screen now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So God's grace through the fire. I already bought mine, but you just fill out this easy form, right? $20 plus shipping. And you want to, give us again, just like a little 30-second pitch about, I mean, this is your story, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And You know what? I'm not going to ask you to do a pitch. I'm going to do the pitch.
Okay. Thank you. Because I was ready to do it. But yeah, you do it.
I'm going to. It happens more often for me now than it did in the past. But it used to be a rarity, but I'm grateful that God has brought specifically these women into my life, right? But Wanda is a force of nature. She's a stand for integrity. How we get to integrity and how we get to be a stand for our own selves is not with the easy button. It's overcoming adversity and rising up on the days that are hard, where we don't want to get out of bed. We would rather cry. And I'm not advocating for quashing yourself and not crying, but I'm saying having the cry and then getting out of bed, giving yourself that extra hour or 10 minutes, whatever it takes. But who Wanda is for me, and I think will be for you, is someone who is demonstrating to the world that you can go through adversity and still rise up. And because I did read your other book, and I know who you are, and I also am your friend, so I know who you are. And still rise up. But it doesn't stop there with Wanda. She brings everyone with her, right? So the real triumph is when you can bring everyone with you so that they don't have to experience the same path, and they can learn from our lessons, from your lessons in this case. So buy the book. It's only like, I don't know how much it is, $20
plus shipping.
$20 plus your shipping. That's easy. People, you spend more than that on lunch. Okay? Buy the book. Let me give you the link so that you can do that.
Thank you. Thank you. And you explained it very well. And with this book, I actually put a journal in there for you as well. Because I want people to go on the journey with me. As I talk about my my adversity and what I struggled to be able to triumph. But the next, right after the chapter, I put that journal in there. And another chapter I have is affirmations. I love affirmations. I do mentoring with the middle school girls. And they call me the affirmation queen because before they can walk out the door, they have to give me an affirmation. Because you have to build into yourself. I am beautiful. I am strong. I am courageous. I am smart. All of those words is something that you have to say to yourself, even if you're having a bad day. So that's what I put in my book as well. So.
Yeah. And that's just the thing, that's my chapter is called not affirmations, but words are vibrations. Words are just vibrations in the air. So what words are you choosing to vibrate? Right. And the distinction between the word, like as an example, thank you. Right. So I'm going to demonstrate that. Thank you Thank you. I can't speak this morning. I'm so flipping tired. But thank you. Right. Thank you so much for being here. Or you're in a fight with someone. Well, thanks for that. Whole nother energy, isn't it? So I'm trying to have people understand the energy and start having discernment around the energy. And how are we speaking to someone? And what energy are we putting out into the universe? And are you watching it when you put out maybe a low vibration energy? Are you watching it come back to you pretty quickly? You're going to get it back because it circles. So I'm going to share my book real quick. So it is in pre-order. And like you, it's my journey. It's called Emotional Healing, Toxic Free Living. It's $22.22. A portion of the proceeds are going to the Environmental Working Group, EWG.org. Why? They have been protecting us for decades against what other countries take for granted. In the United States, we allow, as we mentioned Naomi earlier, like red dye 40, blue dye, green dye, that it's hurting our children and our families. And they're advocating for the United States, for everyone, for the population of the United States, so that we don't have to have these toxins in our food and water. And or are the toxins in our food containers. That's the other thing. So it's a long list. So a portion of the proceeds are going to them because I want to support them because they've supported me. Without them, I wouldn't have known about my water supply. Without them, I wouldn't know the dirty dozen, right? The dirty dozen are the fruits and vegetables you can't touch, even if they're, you have to buy organic, right? They teach about the pollutants in your water bottle, like your bottled water. Let me just say this: in Cobb County, the toxins, we have 18 toxins. I think it's 18 total in our water supply. But you go get that bottled water, now you're up to 38 toxins. But anyway, emotional healing is my journey over the years, from when I was misdiagnosed in 1997 because I complained of pain and I had a torn rotator cuff, and they said the pain was all in my head and I should go on psychotropics and that I would be a harm to other people if I did not.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm so grateful that I waited to publish this book, which will also be a workbook. It'll be spiral bound, most likely, because I'm going to add notes for journaling and where is this showing up in your life type thing. And let me just say that there are so many things that are causing people to be to have emotional unrest, to have depression, to have anxiety, to have anger. So, it's almost like you need a checklist. Have I done this, 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 this? Am I still having issues? No, okay, go to this, 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 this. But if we can get people just to do the basics, okay, she's got my let go of mommy's
Earring.
Thank you. So if we can get people to just do the basics, clean water, clean food, and then do a self-assessment again. How am I feeling? Do I have pain? Do I have physical pain? Do I have emotional pain? And start doing these assessments about where we're at, like the self-awareness, because the doctor is not going to do it for you. If you don't know really how you feel and why you feel, there's not a doctor on the planet that's going to be able to help you other than doing a blood test. So I take you through that process. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
So that's what my book is. You can pre-order, and I will put that link in the thread as well.
Yeah, I was going to tell you to put the link in there.
Yeah. Here we go. So it is posted. And so, woo, she's nasty. You are just aggressive this morning. I know you got. So this is for Wanda. If you want to buy her book, she's got the ones. It's the Jot form, okay, ending in 2138, and mine is Emotional Healing, Toxic Free Living book. Okay. All right. So it's 9:40. I think we missed a commercial. We'll go to our last commercial, and then what would you ladies like to talk about next? What would be the thing that you think needs to be addressed? Keeping in mind, I'd really like to be in bed, but go ahead.
Yeah. No, just bringing it all together. The foundation of respect and integrity. How do we end it with all of that? Bringing it all.
Let's give them some tips that they can take. How about we do that? We'll go to commercial. We'll
Okay.
each give them tips that they can use to take. And then before we do that, Vieta says it's the love of money that's the root of all evil. So I am going to, I'm going to expand upon that before we go. It's edifying money. We shouldn't edify anything, right? And what he explained to me over the weekend is that money is an energy exchange. Okay. And so if we can just look at it as an energy exchange, a way to live, a way to get the food, a way to, get a sweater or whatever, and have an energy exchange. Or Naomi, you come over and you assess my roof, but I help you with nutrition, right? Like that. It's an energy exchange. And stop, like just seeing that everyone has a value to bring. Bless you. You're sneezing on the truth. All right. So, and let me just see. And then she also said, unforgiveness leads to growth of cancer cells. Amen. So Vieta's completely accurate. What unforgiveness is a punishment of your own body. Because most people are not forgiving of themselves first. So they're beating themselves up.
I was going to say that you got to forgive yourself first, and I was wondering why do we have to forgive myself first? But you learned that. But it really makes sense.
Yeah. And I didn't do that. And I did get cancer. So when I found out that I was misdiagnosed, I forgave the doctor. I forgave my brother for what he did. I never forgave myself at that point in time I have now. I didn't forgive myself for putting the drugs in my mouth. I didn't forgive myself for having a mouth like a sewer with my brother, which instigated him. Okay. So, okay, let me go to commercial and we'll come right back. And so everyone have at least 3 tips to give to everybody. Okay. So,
okay.
All right. And Naomi, I'm starting with you, Dolly, just so you know. Right.
Ready.
All right.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Jody Susan with Susan Essentials. I started Susan Essentials in 2015 because of a personal health journey. I was over-medicated and put on 19 different medications. And yes, I reversed all my chronic diseases using plant and energy-based healing. It was amazing. At Susan Essentials, we support both consumers and businesses, and we do that with helping your employees or yourself with a food as medicine mindset. How Susan Essentials supports businesses and consumers is we teach people about a food as medicine mindset. So we support people on how to support their own immune system, how to support their brain health, how to support their emotional well-being. And we do that all with plant and an energy-based healing. And we are back. Actually, I'm going to do one more commercial and then we'll be back. Hold on.
The Female Solution Global Radio TV Show invites you to an invigorating conversation with our team of hosts Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. Start your week with Monday Morning Mindfulness with Zelda Speaks. Tuesdays, Self-Cell Care with Jody Susan. Wednesdays, Repairing Broken Families with Naima Latif and co-host Kareem Hamid. Thursdays, Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green. And Fridays, Health and Well-Being with Beata. Saturdays, tune in 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time. First Saturday, Success Strategies with Jana. Second Saturday, Wendy Williams Esquire on relationships. Third Saturday, Move Around with Deborah. And fourth Saturday, Wisdom with Mama D. Join us Sundays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time for Soul Purpose Healing with Beata. Call in and comment 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak to the host and be a part of the solution.
Okay, we are back, and I had a conversation with Bagel. I said, so what is it that you want to say? And she told me, and I said, but you're going to be last. Let everybody speak first, right? All right. Naomi, what
Okay.
are your top 3 tips that you want to give the community about, boundaries, healthy boundaries, respect, and integrity?
Okay, so I wrote down a few. Number one would be speak it. So being honest, open communication, not expecting people to know what you want. I think my husband was complaining about the office being a mess and nobody tidies it but him. I was like, have you asked anybody to tidy that in spare time? No. So I think being open and honest, planning it. My calendar is like Wanda's, back to back. I know exactly what I'm doing. I work on a Pomodoro technique, so 25 minutes of focus time and then 5 minutes not doing anything, which is quite tough. And then 25 minutes again. So planning that time out, having a list of things to do. And when it comes to actioning, I love to tick things off. So I love to cross through things. I like that achievement. My husband and I share a notes form on our Apple phones, which is great because we can tick them off between us and we can see each other editing them, and that becomes work life. The moment we're clearing out our garage, so it's making sure that have we got everything that we need from Home Depot. There's a list on the list of things that are required. So just having an action plan and making sure that happens. And I think that provides the boundaries. I think that demands the respect. And I think it keeps you on track for integrity.
I love your list. Like, they're just things that I may not have thought of. And because they're my norm, some of those things, and some of them are not. And I'm going to request that next time we see you, that you show me
Sure.
how to
Random stuff on it.
Yeah, I want to share Apple Notes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a really cool thing, in my opinion. So now, oh wait, that's the wrong one. Hold on. Naomi, I just messed up. I was trying to create a banner just for you. Let me see if I did that. Oh, I did. Hold on. Now save it. There we go. So in the event I have someone listening who needs their roof inspected, you're buying a home or you just have an issue with your home, call Naomi. Georgia Roof Advisors, www.georgiaroofadvisors.com, or you can email Naomi at garoofadvisors.com. You really want her and her husband behind you. If integrity is important to you, if sustainability is important to you, if not having to second guess is important to you, I would call her. And Fagla says she seconds that. She goes, I've met Naomi. I agree. Right? She says, yes, mommy. She says, I'm speaking it into the microphone. All right. So thank you for that. And then Wanda, go ahead.
So boundaries, you have to set boundaries to let people know what you both want.
Right.
And I always talk about, in fact, me and Dennis have this. This is what lasted our marriage is the 3 C's in boundaries. You have to communicate, consideration, and commitment. All of that actually ties into to your lives as well as your business lives, to be able to have those 3 C's. And it all comes down to respect, right? Respecting as far as attitude, of how you want to be perceived, about how everybody has differences in what they want, but that's where that commitment, communication, and compromise comes into play. So you need to respect to coexist with others without conflict. And that really is very important to be able to do that. And that builds the trust, the safety, and well being as far as how we can actually respect one another. Um, Integrity, my motto is treat people the way you want to be treated. Okay. So integrity is something that we have to learn, because when you do that, it's about your own person, your personality, how people perceive you as far as integrity. They know they can trust you. You can keep your word. Um, and they know, like with me, I mean, I'm passionate about whatever I do. So having that integrity to say, especially with referrals, people they know what kind of work what I do. So I get a lot of referrals from my integrity of how I treat people and how I want to make sure that whatever you working with me, that things happen, reasonably. So just really can all of what I just said wrapped up in a nutshell:
Yes.
communication, commitment, and compromise. And I don't know if I said consideration. Did I say consideration?
You had 3 C's,
Yeah.
right?
Communication. There's actually 4. Yeah. But compromise is one of them.
So compromise,
Consideration, and
consideration,
commitment. So those are my 4 C's.
okay. I have 3. I have consideration, compromise, communication. Oh,
Commitment.
Commitment.
Thank you. Yeah, the commitment part's huge.
Thank you, Naomi. I always forget that 4C, but those are the 4. I have it on my refrigerator. Those are the 4 C's. People ask, like, with Dennis and I, how long we've been married. I said, okay, Dennis, what are the 3 C's? He may get 3 or 2 C's, and I kind of help him. But all of that ties into everything that we're talking about here: the boundaries, the respect, and integrity. All of that has to do with those 4 C's, because really that's in our lives, that's in our businesses, right?
So it's interesting. I didn't realize what I was going to say until just now, but I actually have it on my website too. And thank you, Wanda, and thank you, Naomi, for the huge contribution. And
Thank
each
you.
one of ours is completely different, which I love. So here is, I'm just going to share. So this is from my website. It's kind of hard to see. So maybe what I'll do is I'll make it larger. Okay. 3 R's. Okay. So the 3 R's: remove, replace, receive. And how is this helping with boundaries, integrity, and respect? Well, it has to start with you. So this helps you put in your foundation. So remove remove or release or delegate those things that don't fit into your highest values. Okay. This will free you up to love your life and live your life honestly on your own terms. And include in that activities, food, water, people, actions, inactions, traits, and behaviors. So anything that doesn't fuel your highest values, which I help you figure out what your highest values are, remove those, and then replace those things. Replace all of that with things that fuel your soul, that light your heart on fire, right? And then you receive abundance in the areas that you're focused on, whatever those goals are. Could be financial, joy, spiritual. And for me, it was receiving the light of God. So mine is 3 R's: remove, replace, receive.
And you know what? You said 3 R's. I have it on my desk: reset, recover, and resolve.
All day. Yeah.
So I said, oh, I have 3 R's too, Jody. So yeah, so the reset, recover, and resolve. I love yours too. So just having to reset your mindset, recover, whatever is bothering you as far as that, and then resolving it in your mind. And that's about forgiveness as well. Right?
Yeah, and forgiveness is so huge. here's what I'm just going to end on with this forgiveness thing. So it kind of goes back to Dr. Josh Axe and other things. Like, we don't know what people are walking through.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to tell you, people have been very gracious to me about forgiving me for shit. And I was not. I was told to, it was demonstrated. It wasn't like, say, hey, make sure you hold a grudge for the rest of your life. No one ever said that, but they showed me that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really had to unwind that. So if you're that person holding a grudge, just remember that they're just trying to get through life right now. And they're doing the best they can with what they got. And maybe they meant to hurt you. I'm kind of guessing not. Usually they are just trying to get their own needs met.
Mm-hmm.
And even with a friend of mine who I know who is listening right now, who had a neighbor who got kind of nasty with her for having a thing, they're just trying to get their, she was, Naomi, are you comfortable sharing anything?
Sure.
Yeah, because I think we have to know that they're suffering, right? They're just suffering with whatever their own demon is, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
So we replaced our roof recently, and it was super exciting. I'm used to having everybody else's excitement when they get a new roof and the before and after photos. And while we were replacing our own roof, GAF, the largest shingle manufacturer, came on site and trained all of our workers, which was an amazing opportunity. I said to the head trainer, how often do you come to Georgia? He said maybe 2 or 3 times a year. So I was super honored that he was on site with us, helping us with the complex roof and making sure that we were doing the right thing. It was a new shingle, and our neighbors wanted to know if we were operating a business from our residential property or whether we had a home there. And it became quite uncomfortable, sadly. But we do have a brand new roof and it is beautiful now.
Yeah. And the guy or woman, whatever, I don't know, the person really has this thing called righteousness going on for them, right? Like everyone has to be protected from people who are doing the wrong thing. And then basically the wrong thing is based upon their perception, which may not be rooted in reality, which clearly was not rooted in reality that day.
Right.
So we just have to, what I started doing as a new practice, and I mean really new, like within the last 6 to 8 weeks, somebody upsets me, I just keep on sending them love. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Ask me if it was easy. I'm turning 60 tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. So it took me 60 years basically to get to that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So don't judge yourself if you don't do it on day one. So
Right.
All right. Exactly. So I'm going to wear my crown. Fagala. Oh, she's attacking the crown.
Yeah.
So she wanted her contribution, and I told her she would be the last, is she wants everyone to start with heart. She's been saying that very first show that we ever did, that was her message. Start with heart. Start with love. Lead with love. Say anything. She says, that is it. All right. So I'm very, very grateful, Naomi, Wanda, that both of you took time out of your morning, and Ashley, who's not here right now, to share your wisdom. By you sharing your stories about how you are able to mandate respect, and by just not accepting the alternative, right? And how you rise up and what you deal with and how you manage your day and how you manage your family, and do it with love and grace and ease, you're making a contribution to others so that they can follow in your footsteps.
Mhm.
And it occurs to me, Naomi, that you need to become an author sometime.
I was going to say the same thing.
You were? Yeah, I do really feel that, don't you? She's such a
Yes.
wise soul.
Yes.
And I'm so grateful that we met each other, and you're really wise.
Mhm.
And you set the standard for things in an industry maybe that whose standards needed some modification,
Right.
you know? So, Wanda, I think I already told everybody about you.
Thank you.
So I'm not going to do a repeat, but
Thank you.
yeah, take a look at that, Naomi. See what year that's going to happen for you.
Right. I'll put it in my 90-day target, shall I?
Yeah, I mean, decide when that's going to be. And then we got a comment, and then we're going to end the show. Ronald Green says, I witnessed Naomi take the high road in dealing with an unruly neighbor. Naomi, you are, she really is, isn't she, Ronald? I
So
mean,
Ron was actually doing some filming, doing some testimonials. We've replaced a couple of people's roofs in the neighborhood too. So yes, Ronald witnessed the neighbor shouting at me while I just graciously listened and nodded and agreed and just, yeah. So, but
so you demonstrated leading with heart,
Mhm.
starting with heart.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ronald, thank you for sharing that. I am really grateful that that you shared that, because people need to know. I mean, I really, I'm thinking, I'm going back now on the purpose of this show, which was integrity, boundaries, and what was the other thing? Sorry, respect, right? And so so what I'm going to say is, if you need the services that Naomi or Wanda offer, these people demonstrate that. So these are your go-to people. Right?
Thank you. Thank you. It
Appreciate
was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye,
I
Naomi.
will run this, and then we will exit.
Okay.
There we go.